Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
Hello, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinemile. It's the podcast where we walk home from the movies. Today we're going to watch a movie called A Real Pain, written and directed and starring Jesse Eisenberg along with Kieran. Culkin. This is a movie I saw a trailer for a few months ago, and I said to myself out loud, because I like to talk to myself on my computer, I said, that's not a movie for me, that looks incredibly annoying.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I said. But this is
seen the trailer.
Yeah, it just looked really annoying, but then this movie's getting a load of buzz. Kieran Culkin just won the Golden Globe.
I haven't seen him. Yeah, I think he won for Best Supporting Actor, Best Actor. I haven't seen the trailer, but I actually heard Jesse Eisenberg was on RT Radio talking about the film, and I was thinking for a while, geez, how'd they get him on to talk about it? And then realised, oh, it's because he's directed and written it.
Yeah. So
he was really invested, and actually I listened. It was a really chunky interview, and they played clips from the movie on it, and it made me very interested in listening to it, because it's always fascinating to hear someone talk about something they've written, directed and starred in, and all the dynamics that come from that. It's very impressive. Like, you don't get that many actors writing and directing, a film and a project like this. So yeah, I'm really interested to see it, and big fan of Kieran Culkin, obviously.
Big fan of the running time of this movie.
90 minutes, I'm sold. I'm totally sold. I think it's like a drama comedy, so I hope it's a bit of fun, and we shall be back.
Some people call that a dramedy.
Okay, we shall be back after we've
I call it a crama.
The crama, dramedy. What's it called? A Real Pain?
It's called A Real Pain.
Okay.
We should say what it's about. You'll hear it in the trailer, but this is about 2 cousins who are going on a tour in Poland, a Holocaust tour, as part of them reconnecting with their grandmother, who was a survivor of the Holocaust from Poland.
And Jesse Eisenberg had said in the interview that he got the idea for it because he said he was on tours. I don't think he specifically talked about a Holocaust tour, but like in Cambodia and places like that, and he just was thinking of the very nature of what it means to be a tourist, but you're touring something horrific, and how it's such a strange thing to be doing.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept.
It's a really interesting concept, yeah. So
have you ever done one?
No. Have
you?
you?
Me neither, no.
No. So we'll be back after we've seen the movie.
See you soon.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Boner
is not available.
Hey, Benji, I just got to the airport. I really hope you left already. Oh, God, you made it.
What's up, cuz? I got some good shit from when we land.
Wait, you're not, taking weed into Poland, are you?
Oh, yeah.
Benji?
They don't give a shit about that stuff, man.
I think they very much do give a shit about
that.
Oh,
yeah.
We get high in backseats of cars.
Davers and I are cousins. We used to be joined at the hip. Our grandma was from here, so Dave arranged for us to join this geriatric Polish tour with you fine people.
That's the way we get by.
I really needed this, man. I know that it's tough for you to leave your boy.
The way we get by.
I don't really have anything going on.
I know it's been a tough few months for you, so...
I also want to say that I know you're not the most comfortable person with people.
I'm not?
No.
Does it look real?
Well, they're twice the size of you in metal, so...
You sure you don't want to come up here?
I'm good.
Can you take my picture? That's what I'm talking about. Marcia.
Thank you, David. But it's amazing that you're here, putting yourself out there so boldly for me.
Thank you, man.
Let's go smoke a joint.
Okay, hello, we're back. We've seen A Real Pain. Have you seen it? Write in and let us know. I love living long pauses for replies.
I have seen it.
Well, I presume they talk to us. Our listeners talk to us the way I talk to myself when I'm watching trailers. Anyway.
And I have seen it. Thanks for asking, Dave.
Thanks, Kathy. If it's your first time here at the Cinemile, we don't spoil the movie until we get to Spoiler Street, which is just up ahead. I could just see it. It's just right. It's just coming up right there. It's about a 10-minute walk. So, Kathy, how do you feel? How's your pain levels? Do you have a real pain?
I don't.
Or a fake pain?
I thought this was a really good movie. It's definitely not really a comedy.
Could have fooled me. You were giving me, your body language was saying, I don't like this.
Oh no, I was liking it. It's just, it's possibly not what I was expecting. So it's definitely, I wouldn't call it a comedy. I'd call it a drama.
It's a comedy.
It is 90 minutes, as we said, which I love. It feels very like a play to me, particularly at the beginning. So it's a lovely film in the sense that it's a simple story based on relationships, family history, and there's two main characters, and then there's like kind of an ensemble in total of about 7 or 8 of them, and they're basically the only people in the film.
They're the other people on the tour.
Yeah, so I love that kind of a small group setting. Definitely feels like something that probably wasn't shot over a long period of time. The central relationship between the cousins is really fascinating. The elements we talked about before, whereby they're kind of trying to unpick the nature of doing a tour like this, I found very interesting. And I think Jesse Eisenberg is a very interesting writer, and the themes were a lot of food for thought around the very nature of, if your grandparents fled Poland during the Holocaust and now you as an American tourist are returning however many years later and you're like on a first class train, and what does that mean?
Yeah,
and like
sipping champagne.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. So I think all the moral dilemmas are fascinating. I think the 2 lead actors are brilliant together. There was a point where I felt like a lot of the dialogue felt very written.
Oh yeah?
And was delivered with some overacting.
Okay.
So that's where I started to feel like, not only just because of the small group.
By who?
By the 2
Both?
leads.
Yeah.
I just started to feel like it more veered into play territory than movie. I think it would make an amazing play. But overall, I'm very impressed with it.
Are you talking about the dinner scene?
I'm
Not
just talking about the whole film.
Oh, the whole thing. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And I think, yeah, really interesting. I love a film that makes me think. I think we should always remember the Holocaust, and I think this film does a really good job of kind of underpinning the seriousness of it, reminding us yet again of the horrors that humans can kind of bring on each other. And I think it's a really good movie, and I'm really glad to see it getting the spotlight it's getting. What about you?
Yeah, for me, I'm on the same wavelength as you. I'm glad to report that I didn't hate this film, and I didn't find it annoying. I actually thought it was very good.
Why did you think it was annoying? Is it Kieran Culkin in the trailers? Is he annoying in the trailers?
Yeah, yes.
He is annoying in the film.
I think that's it. Yeah. I was like, 2 things that put me off on the trailer. It was like, one, this felt like a navel-gazy, quirky indie comedy.
Which I have no problem with, by the way.
But it isn't. It isn't. I found I was right on board with the 2 main characters and all the supporting characters from the get-go.
Same.
And right up to the end.
And we've got Baby from Dirty Dancing here.
Yes, I know. Yes, Jennifer Grey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who's quite lovely in this. Everyone is great in this, and so yeah, that was my one concern was alleviated, and the other concern about Kieran Culkin being annoying, which I think the trailer leans heavily on. I think there are parts in this film where he is annoying. The character is annoying by design.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I think it's a wonderful performance and it's a wonderful character.
Yeah.
One thing.
I think we should be careful with the character stuff. I think we should discuss
save
most
it for spoilers.
of the
Yes,
character
sure,
stuff
sure.
on spoilers.
I will say, okay, things I liked. I thought I thought, as you said, the writing is excellent. The chemistry between the 2 characters and the 2 actors is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And really is if that doesn't work, this movie doesn't work. Because they're at the center of all this. And I found the sort of relationships that they have with each other and with the other characters informs you so much about them as people.
Mm-hmm.
So the way the movie reveals their information about these characters through their actions, I thought was very deftly done.
Mm-hmm.
I was quite impressed with it. I thought the themes that this movie tackles are really interesting. As you said, this is a really novel setting and a really novel concept, and it's got that feeling of a sort of you've got it right, like a play, but that sort of enclosed structure where it's almost like it's one of those movies like 12 Angry Men where it's just people in a room in an enclosed setting. There's
you
a
could
certain
have 4 sets if it was a play, basically, and it would work.
Yes. Now, and I think it gives you a certain sense of claustrophobia that comes with being on like a guided tour with these strangers. That's a really interesting sort of setting to dig into.
And it's funny because one of the guys was in White Lotus, which is like a different kind of closed setting with other tourists.
Yeah, true. Playing a very different character in here. They're doing, as we were saying, they're doing their absolute best to make this incredibly attractive man not be attractive.
Oh yeah, it didn't work
in this movie. It doesn't quite work.
They tried. Yeah, I love how their relationships reveal themselves. And I think I had heard Jesse Eisenberg talking about this on the radio. So they actually did film in a concentration camp, and he made the decision, which I completely agree with, which is there's essentially no dialogue there, and they just film it very silently. They film the actors' kind of true reactions to it, and then there's a silence after it. So we, the audience, pause, for the significance of it. And I think that's how he managed to get the film so tonally right. And I think then there's the other funny sides of it, like as people who live in a country where, trust me, a lot of Americans come on tour.
No disrespect to
no disrespect,
to Americans.
But like there's a lot. Like,
but we've had some of your worst tourists here.
The film leans on the fact that, like, in one sense they're coming as Jewish people and exploring their Jewish identity, but in another sense they are American tourists coming into a country saying we're Polish and yet can't speak a word of Polish. And like he's recognizing the irony of that, I think.
Yeah.
The way we would have American tourists coming in like, I'm Irish, and it's like, are you? I
think this movie is very self-aware.
It's very self-aware, and like they don't even seem to know how to say hello, please, and thank you in Polish. And I found that stuff was done very deftly as well. And like at one point they're in a kind of restaurant, and there's kind of Polish music playing, and Kieran Culkin goes, oh, so cliched, it's just anti-Semitic, and they're like, the owners are Jewish, and like that is actually real Polish music. So it's like they have certain notions about what they think should be going on when they're on a tour. So I find all that really fascinating. I do think we should go into spoilers. What do you think?
Yeah, one last thing I'll say is the other thing this movie gets right, I think, and is very relatable is I've experienced this, and I'm sure you have as well, and everyone listening, like going on holidays with people who you're not on the same wavelength with in terms of like itinerary or what you're looking to get out of it. And so I thought this nailed that feeling. And the other bit is sort of when two characters have a very different sense of propriety in public.
Yeah, big time.
And this is something everyone has experienced. We are slightly embarrassed by someone you're with publicly for their actions.
Yeah.
But then you secretly sort of admire them as well.
Yeah.
I'll give you a direct example from me and Kathy. So often Kathy is very comfortable complaining in restaurants or asking for different things on the menu. Sorry, not complaining.
That's not right.
You're comfortable in tweaking menus or pushing, whereas I'm very much like I don't want to disturb anyone.
Like
I don't want to be any trouble.
Like if we were in a seat that's like very uncomfortable, I'll say, oh, I'm so sorry, do you mind if we move seats? And they'll say, no bother. And Dave's like, why did you ask to move seats?
I don't like being in any way of even a minor inconvenience. And that's what I mean. But that's exactly my point, is that you're not doing anything wrong, but I feel those feelings, and I also admire you for being able to do it.
Now, I think I really embarrass you when we're in hotels and I just fully steal food from the breakfast buffet. I think that's more moving into blatantly. Like I bring a lunchbox and fill it.
I don't admire you for that. There's an art to subtlety, and you do not possess it.
I love the idea that, like, I always find it fascinating when people are trying to explore their cultural identity and heritage.
Yes.
When you're like kind of from one country, you're sort of from another country, and we've had this in our own family recently, where our children, who were both born in England but have Irish parents and now live in Ireland permanently, turns out in their childcare they were doing this kind of nationalities thing. One of our children identified as English and one of our children identified as from the United Kingdom. And when I went to collect them, they had drawn both the Union Jack and an English flag to represent their nationalities. And I don't know what to make of it.
Where did we go so wrong?
I was like, but you're Irish. And I think they got confused because they're like, oh, well, so-and-so in my class is like Polish and Irish, and so-and-so in my class is like German and Irish. And we're like, yeah, but you're just Irish though. And they're like, yeah, but we were born in England. And to that I had no answer other than, I respect your right to identify as English, one, and for the other 4-year-old, I respect your right to identify as someone who's from the United Kingdom. And that was very funny to me. So I had those vibes going into the film as well, where they kind of keep saying they're Polish, but then they're like, we don't speak any Polish, and like, we've never been to Poland before. And it's but both things are true.
Yeah, and I
really
think
interesting.
I think it's such this movie packs a lot of really interesting thematic concepts and ideas into a very short runtime, and nothing is on the nose. I think it's very well presented.
Yeah.
And one last thing on that point is, you spoke about American tourists coming to Ireland. Another thing I've experienced personally, and I'm sure many of our Irish listeners have, are third, fourth, maybe even fifth generation immigrants returning to Ireland who have family connections with me. Mm-hmm. So that's happened over the past several decades, many times in my family. Usually, second or third generation.
Yeah, I've had it as well.
So I've seen it, like, I guess, secondhand through the lens of them and their experience and the value, and so they're trying to visit their grandmother's house, and it has real significance to them. I've had American tourists coming home to visit, and I've been there when they see buildings that have so they're of great significance to them, and to me it's just like, it's just a building in a boring part of my town. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it is, and it is hard to bridge that gap sometimes, even though there is a family connection.
Yeah, so it's all very, this is what I mean, it's a deep film, there's loads to leave us thinking about.
Yeah, it is very good. I liked it.
We'll hang a Union Jack up if our kids so desire.
If our kids identify as English.
We respect them. Now we shall be back after a quick break to discuss spoilers.
Hi, Kush Jumbo here. My podcast Origins is where the biggest names in entertainment tell me the stories that made them who they are today. This week on Origins is KSI.
I did boxing as a joke, if that makes sense. So
no, continue. Okay. Did you and Tommy Fury become friends?
No. I would be sweating if I was like sitting next to another woman. I didn't know how to talk to females.
Listen to Origins with Kush Jumbo wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day. And that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Okay, so we are now full spoilers for A Real Pain. There's not a whole lot to spoil here, but why don't we talk a little bit about the sort of, I think the biggest plot stuff is around the relationships between David and Benji. I will say, just on the performance of Kieran Culkin, part of me, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this thought this, is that like you're trying to separate, like, how is this a different performance to who Kieran Culkin is and his mannerisms, and like Succession, yeah. Where a lot of and I think there is a bit of a Venn diagram here where his personality and quirks seem to be coming through in both performances. However, I think it's actually a great performance if you look a bit deeper, because it is quite a different character, because what I like, this
character is fundamentally kind.
Exactly.
This character in Succession is fundamentally unkind,
broken and mean. There's a meanness there, but they are both damaged, and they both are very charismatic and outward. So there are commonalities.
Both can be quite manic, like up and down.
Yes.
So I think I thought he was brilliant. At the beginning, again, I was like kind of rolling my eyes, like, oh, here we go with Succession. And as it went on, I thought, God, he's a brilliant actor. I didn't know he was this good.
He's really good. And I think he had me just from him sitting in that airport.
Yeah.
Like the sort of, what he does with his face in those moments, and it bookends the movie, are, you watch somebody, I thought he expressed a whole suite of emotions there. Somebody who's like eager and keen to watch people and get involved, and you learn throughout the course of the movie that Benji is, as you say, very empathetic and has a real way of seeing through people and to reach out and help them. He makes a huge impact on everybody in that group, both positively and negatively.
Yeah.
And but he there's a sadness, there's a longing.
Yeah.
There's hurt. It's like he feels so much, and that's kind of the concept of this movie and their sort of conflict is he wants to experience everything. He wants to feel everything big, and
It's like
David
he wants
just
the movie-
wants to repress all that.
The movie's very clever because it's a real pain in that Kieran Culkin is being a real pain, but also
He's
feeling
experiencing
real pain.
Yeah, exactly. And it's pain. It's all about, as Kneecap said, intergenerational trauma,
Yeah.
right? It's like pain from their grandmother being passed down to them.
And then their own pains, and then like Jesse Eisenberg's character is like, but yeah, we can all understand pain, but we don't have to like really, really experience it. And then Kieran Culkin saying, but you're on a Holocaust tour.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not going to experience it here, where will you?
Yeah.
And then I think Jesse Eisenberg is an incredibly typecast actor because he give or take always plays the same character, similarly to Kieran Culkin.
And he's typecast himself.
He's typecast
here.
himself, but
Yeah.
apparently he originally considered himself for the Kieran Culkin role, so I'm glad he moved off that one. Because he would have just been annoying, I think, in that role. But he,
Yeah, go on.
in this film, though, I think I'm very impressed by him as a writer, director, and actor, because some of the writing's very clever when he says, like, I just wish that, like, when I walked into a room, I could light it up like you do. But then he goes, but you light up the room, but then you shit on it.
Shit all over it.
And he's like, you're so charming. I want to know what it's like to be charming, because he's incredibly uncharming. And it really, you know, throughout the film, for a while, you're like, oh, Jesse Eisenberg's really embarrassed by Kieran Culkin. And then at the very end, everyone's like hugging Kieran Culkin. Now, some people, the married couple, aren't interested in him, but like the tour guide says, you're the only person in 5 years who's given me good feedback. Thank you so much. You're such a special person. He hugs him. And then he turns to Jesse Eisenberg and just goes, bye, David.
That killed me. That hurts so much.
Even though David's the one who's been trying to be like so nice.
And it wasn't
kind.
mean. It was just completely like, it was just like polite goodbye, 2 words.
Yeah,
That's all he
exactly.
got because their interactions had never gone like past the surface level. So
And
it was
then this
completely
film-
appropriate.
We should give a trigger warning, but I think if you've seen the film, you'll know. But like there is like discussion of suicide in this film, and so just a warning that we're about to talk about that. But Kieran Culkin's character attempted suicide, and Jesse Eisenberg is trying to grapple with, as many family members will in that situation, that like, how could you do that? Like, I don't know how to be around you. I'm so terrified. He's so terrified of him. Like, he goes out one night and doesn't come back, and Jesse Eisenberg is completely freaked out because he's so worried about him. We see it at the beginning. He keeps leaving him voicemails, like he's incredibly anxious about his cousin's mental health. And then at the end of the film, what I really like about what they did is that, like, so often films where there's like a big trip, a big event like this, there's like some implication that at the end characters are changed. And what I really like happened here is it's like, they're not changed. Of course they're not changed. It will have impacted them.
Well said.
But at the end of it, Jesse Eisenberg is like, you know, he had said earlier on, you should come to New York City. Why would I visit you in the suburbs? You know, which is an attitude so many people have when they live in the city. And it kind of showed his true colours a little bit. But he's trying to reach out to Kieran Culkin. Like, you can tell, like, their relationship's definitely deeper. And that's the impact of the trip, is that they're kind of back on track again.
Yeah, their hug at the end was
so nice.
Was quite touching, I
But
thought.
then he's saying to him, you know, what's your plan now? And Kieran Culkin's plan is like, oh, I'm going to help my friend like tile his roof.
Yeah.
And Jesse Eisenberg is like, no, like, what's your life plan, you know? And Kieran Culkin's like, that is my plan. And it's like Jesse Eisenberg's so type A that he doesn't he's like, no, but like, what's your life plan? And Kieran Culkin's like, what are you asking me? I'm tiling my friend's roof. And that's why it's like really interesting to just have two people who love each other who are so different. And then at the end, Jesse Eisenberg is like, right, let's get a taxi, we'll do this, we'll do that. And Kieran Culkin's like, no, I'm just going to sit here. And then Kieran Culkin, actually I thought the ending was very impactful because he looks a bit lost and a bit sad, and you never see films ending like that after a trip, because you know, a more cliched film would end with him just being like, and now
he's found a new lease on life,
yeah, and it's like,
he's going to take that job interview he was thinking about.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it's like, but that's not him. So I thought
exactly.
the ending was actually very beautiful.
Beautifully put. Well said. I like that, and I completely agree.
What do you think of the extensive use of Chopin? I heard him talk about that on the radio because he'd been listening to it while he wrote the script, and then he inserted it in.
I've now learned that Chopin was Polish.
Yes, I didn't know that.
So there's that, but beyond that, I mean, it didn't really have much of an impact for me.
I felt like it might have been the one thing that made it obvious that he's like a kind of first-time director, or that this is his feature director
Do you think it's
debut.
too obvious, is it?
Well, he's like, I listened to it while I was writing it, and then it just inserted in. And maybe it's because I'd heard that interview first, so that would have tainted me, but I just was like, oh, there we go, stick in another Chopin.
Well, he must have saved a load of money on licensing.
I had that thought as well, because I'm sure the budget was low, but I just felt a bit intrusive sometimes, like, all right, we get it, like, we understand what you're doing, but like, it wasn't exactly building up to it, you know, speaking of Succession, where they'll use classical music or classical sounding music.
Yeah.
And build up. Chopin was just either 100% or 0%.
You can compare it to Succession, which had an incredible composer fusing classical and hip hop together to make an original piece of work.
It has the same character in it, though. Sorry,
well, come on. Anyway,
I think the music was a bit stuck on. That was my only criticism.
Before we wrap up, I would like to know, you mentioned that you felt there were moments where it felt very written to you. What stood out to you?
I think probably the scene on the train, the big train scene. But then I love how that all came...
The bit where Kieran Culkin had his outburst?
He gave his big speech. But like, I thought it was a brilliantly written speech. It just felt very theatrical to me.
Oh.
And then, but I love then
at the
end when I bought it. Like, it was just, you know, it wasn't like a naturalistic scene. And then at the end, though, I love when they hop onto the other train and they end up in first class. Like, that was a proper funny moment.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I thought the movie was funny when it was needed to be funny.
There were moments
funny.
of humour.
It was landing.
Yeah, there were definite moments of humour.
The bit that felt a bit too written for me was the dinner scene, was Jesse Eisenberg's.
Oh God, yeah, his soliloquy.
Big outburst.
That's what I'm telling you, like, he should be on a stage delivering that thing.
That's the bit where I was like, I didn't feel that came out very organically.
Yeah. But then as a character, you kind of get the feeling he's overanalyzed that so many times that when he speaks, it comes out like that. Like, it kind of makes sense for him.
Maybe.
I love that
it didn't feel right to me, whereas I thought all of what Kieran Culkin did felt very natural and
also,
organic.
and Jesse Eisenberg's written the script, so he's probably like too well rehearsed. But yeah, I think
maybe.
It's a great success, but not quite the comedy I was looking for, so I hope we can see something a bit lighter next time. I'm going for Baby Girl. I'm gunning for it.
That's not a comedy either.
I forgot to say, oh my God, we forgot to say at the top of this, so we ran a poll between Baby Girl, Nosferatu and A Real Pain, and Nosferatu and A Real Pain got the same amount of votes.
Did they?
Yeah.
Or did Nosferatu win and you refused to go?
No, they ended up on the same, but then this one was 90 minutes, so...
I was always going to win.
Always going to win.
I'm struggling to get Kathy to see Nosferatu.
Yeah,
I've got to get you there before it finishes.
Anyway, come over to patreon.com/the Cinemile, because we are about to start reviewing Severance.
Yes,
season
weekly
2.
episodes on Severance.
And we've a ton of other TV stuff going on over there, or wherever you listen to the podcast, Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere else. Please leave us a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate it.
And if you'd like to message us your real pains, you can do so via thecinemile@gmail.com. We love getting emails and we always write back. Or you can message us on any of the social media platforms that we're on, which are Instagram, Letterboxd, YouTube and Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
You